Hi, this is Kendra from Pencil and Pigment, and for this week's video I just wanted to talk about and go over some ideas of things to draw when you don't know what to draw, or you're not feeling creative, or you're burned out, or your mind's blank. Sometimes you wake up and you go throughout your day and you're like, I would really like to be creative and nothing's hitting me. So I'm going to go over some of the ideas and things I do. I apologize if my cats in the background are being crazy. I will clip in some footage. You can see my desk buddy Magpie joining me and just generally staring at me while I draw and record videos. It's really cute, but sometimes it's distracting. Okay, so I am using the Canon Luminescence. I only have the one, it's the Malachite. This is a sonic pencil holder. It's not the best extender, but it's very, very comfortable for long-term holding of pencils and things. And my favorite sharpener is the Mobius Rupert Brass pencil sharpener. And I am using a Stalogy 365 with a Midori A5 cover and a Traveler's pencil board to protect the sheets because they're thin. So let's get started. Okay, what to draw when you don't know what to draw. So for me personally, and I'm not pre-sketching anything, I'm just going to sort of imagination pull of some of my favorite things to draw are things that make me smile. So when I am going through my day and I'm thinking about my gratitude and I'm thinking about all the different things that I've done for the day, some of the things that really made me smile throughout the day or brought me peace or were stress relieving, those are the things I lean into and try and figure out how to recapture that moment or that memory or just the general relaxation of it. So for today's illustration, I am doing a colored pencil cat. We have two cats, Magpie and Lucifer. And we also have a really huge dog who's lovely, and I'll see if I can capture a little bit of video of her today and put that at the end of the video. I love having pets. Pets aren't for everybody. Not everybody is an animal person, but for me, they just bring so much joy and laughter, and they're just amazing. I just love them so much. So an idea is, as you're going throughout your day and things that are making you smile or laugh or just generally bringing you joy, that feeling you get in your heart where your heart feels full, start making little notes and ideas of what some of those things are, and those can be really fun to recreate illustration style. Boy, I hope my hand's kind of shadowing that. I'm sorry, I'm right under my window. I bird watch, which is why I draw a lot of birds. I bird watch through my office window, and that is something else that brings me joy. Some things that bring me joy that I don't draw would be our children. I'm kind of the camp that kids aren't content because they can't consent. They're not old enough to understand. So in that vein, I don't put my kids' faces on or draw them. Other things for drawing, one of the things that really pulls me is an idea that I can't get out of my head. So if I get a really interesting idea, the first thing I do is I write it down in one of my notebooks. And I have an Archer Olive grid journal everybody has seen if you followed my no-buy journey last year. And I will put the idea in there. And then I will take a little page from there and I will start to build on that idea. Is that something that can be just a daily illustration? Is that something that would make something more formal, like a print? Would that make a really cool book idea? I have some really interesting ideas I'm going to work on next year. But for right now, I just kind of want to illustrate. And things that I can't get out of my head, or if I see a face And I find often that Pinterest has really, really good faces and portraits and sort of like model pictures. I try and pick model photographs to recreate and draw inspiration from, because those are people that have kind of consented to being looked at as their profession. So I hope they don't mind that I draw them. And I try and stylize that, and I think about my mood and the colors I want for the day. Sometimes I purposely pick colors that I'm not drawn to. So for a couple days I was doing, well, here's green. I'm doing really bright colors, and I don't tend to work bright or work neon, but to get myself into a different way of thinking, way of seeing, way of exploring, of continually motivating and drawing, because I draw every single day. And I upload those on Instagram, sort of like, that's my record keeping, my accountability for making sure that I'm drawing and taking time for myself to do the things that I love to do, because life gets super, super busy. So that's how I use my Instagram. And I try and really, really just lean into, I am just really in a face mood. And I don't push things. So if I have drawn faces every single day for portraits or portrait illustration studies, every single day for like 20 days, and day 21, I'm like, you know what, you've been drawing too many portraits, but I'm still in the mood to draw a portrait. I just draw a portrait anyway. I'm not drawing or creating for an audience. I'm creating for me and the thing I want to do, and that's what keeps me creating and interested and inspired. So it's not the most like eye-catching or audience building to sort of create, to constantly think of ideas or do things in popular culture that people are interested in. Those are the things that build audience. But if you want to sort of get out of a rut and try and think of things to draw, drawing what you're genuinely interested in, no matter what is going on in popular culture, media, the news, and leaning into that mode can be much more rewarding. It's more rewarding in the long run. You can kind of see my cat's kind of coming together. Very soft. Anyway, and I'm just doing general hatch marks for the ticking of the fur. Other things that I try and do, if I am, sometimes when I watch a movie, and I shout out to my husband, who's the most patient man I've ever met in my life, I'll watch a movie and they'll show like a kitchen or a bedroom, or there'll be like an interesting cityscape scene, and I will pause it and like either screen capture it if we're watching it on the computer or take a picture of it on my phone. And that is just for color theory, for different color combination ideas. There are websites, and I will link some. I also have a board on Pinterest that is sort of art and design inspiration, where you can put up a color and it'll add other colors that might look good with that one, in case you're interested in trying different color combinations. And that unto itself can bring about a whole different mix of ideas. Sometimes it's just seeing a new color in a different way mixed with something else that could be totally, totally inspiring. And I don't know what it is. Sometimes I'll see a product somebody has created and I'll think, I wonder what that would look like as an astronaut illustration. And then I'll make some notes. And in my notes, I'll try and find, if I own the colors, I'll do little color blocks to show. Here, let me find a sketchbook of what I'm talking about. Color combinations that I think might look interesting later together. And sometimes I'll do this in my sketchbooks, like gold with sort of a blood orange and a teal and a blue. And I'll do things like that because having little tiny swatch color ideas of color theory and things like that can also be a way of sort of seeing things in a new way. Taking the supplies you have, what you already own, not necessarily going out and buying new ones, but taking what you have and really exploring that in different color combinations. Because sometimes I have found that when you have a big set of something, that it's almost too many options, too many choices, and it's like decision fatigue, and that can zap inspiration, and that's what you don't want to do. You want all the things to enable and create more inspiration. So the whole idea of, you know, having your pet pick 2 colors for you or closing your eyes and picking 2 colors can be really, really fascinating. If you've never tried that challenge, or just working monochromatically to sort of create a specific mood for your art piece, different colors sort of resonate different feelings and emotions. So for color theory and things like that, you think about cool blues, cool greens are very relaxing, and that's kind of why I am doing that color for the cat, because I find cats to be very peaceful and relaxing, and I want this illustration to reinforce sort of the beauty and the amazingness that cats and pets provide for stress relief. It may not always seem strategic in illustrations, but doing some things like that that reinforce can really be inspiring and help you gain more ideas. Everything is to create more ideas for later, and then bank those ideas, write them down somewhere where you can find them later, and you'll have them on days where you're just not feeling it or nothing seems to be very interesting. And I'm kind of doing little stipple dots here to sort of fade out the harsh lines. I want this cat to sort of fade into the page, fade in and out. Yeah, those are some of the things. Sometimes getting out of the house can help. Walking around, looking at things, looking at people. I don't try and people watch too much. It comes across as kind of staring. And I don't want people to think I'm just sitting there staring at them. But that can be a way to garnish ideas. If there's something really important that's on your mind that's frustrating you, let's say you're, I don't know, turned on the news or something, and something is really frustrating, put it down in picture form. That is an excellent, excellent way to, 1, relieve sort of stress and anxiety, put it on the page, and 2, have something that you've created for the day. It may not be like the most beautiful, relaxing picture ever, and it may just be, you know, scrapes, scribbles, emojis maybe, stick figures. I've seen stick figures done in really interesting ways that convey the message when it's not the most important thing. Doing little comics, sometimes one-panel comics can be a really fun way to just convey an emotion. And if you're conveying an emotion, you're really getting out of your own way and putting something on the page that's more meaningful and kind of deep for yourself. Like you're doing yourself a favor at that point. And in that respect, comics and things like that can be such an enriching, fun little activity. The page can be very, very daunting, like opening up the page to a sketchbook, and it just kind of sits there and it stares at you. And if that's too big, then work small. Take a huge A4 and draw a teeny tiny 1 inch by 1 inch or 2.54 by 2.54 centimeters in the center, and just work on that little square in the center of the page. And really, really, you can shrink it down and give that little tiny square purpose. And with something small, you really see what matters to an illustration and what kind of doesn't. So if you're drawing an animal, do the ears make that animal what it is and identifiable? or not. Maybe you want to start drawing things for other people, homes, weddings, little photograph replications and things like that. Doing studies can be a great way of getting out of your own head and finding something interesting to draw. I find a lot of the time that like hands and feet, for some reason that seems to be something a lot of artists overlook. So there's always something to draw and it's attached to you. And you can be holding a pencil in many different ways and draw your hand many different ways. I will throw up some photographs of a artist and creator that did that during lockdown, like drew her hands over and over and over. And they're so simple, but they're so beautiful and effective. And it was such good practice and inspiring because she put it on different colored papers, and you don't have to have like a huge setup. If you don't know what to draw, put your pencil in your other hand and draw with your non-dominant hand. And that will help you get over that perfectionist ideal that artists tend to grasp and hold on to so tightly. Perfectionism and that whole idea kind of does us a huge disservice, because if we hold on to that idea, then nothing's ever really done, nothing's ever really finished, and then we're never ever happy with what we've created. We're never satisfied. So a great way to let go of that is to have pages you just scribble on and force yourself just to scribble and then turn the page. Or put your illustration medium in your non-dominant hand and then draw something. Write your name. It works the other side of your brain a little bit too, so it's a great exercise for your brain. But it's just a great way to sort of get out of your own head and try something new. And, you know, when you don't know what to draw a square. For example, I'm right-handed when I draw. So drawing a square or an apple or some fruit with my left hand is such a good challenge idea for me. I want the cheek to come out just a little bit, just super fuzzy. And sometimes when I draw really, really light and then I go to take a picture of it, it doesn't do the illustration any justice. But not being afraid of like things not looking good on camera, and just figuring out what your interests are. Have you been reading or looking up anything? If you've been reading a book or watching a TV show, pulling from that, if it's making you laugh or making you excited or it's interesting or it's gripping, you know, maybe you're watching something really scary and it's just, you're on the edge of your seat. Leaning into that can be a great way to find something to draw and inspire. Things from your dreams. If you remember what you dream at night, and some people do and some people don't. I had a dream a couple nights ago. Oh, she overshares on the internet. That our entire family was wearing like huge pajama type onesies that were sharks. And it wasn't Halloween. We were just wearing shark pajama onesies. And we were so excited about it. And that was my dream. Yeah, I don't know. Out of all the animals to wear pajamas of, it was a shark. And that would have been a hilarious, like, little doodle of the five of us in weird little shark pajamas, smiling and grinning ear to ear. That could have been an illustration idea. Pulling from your area. So if where you live has really, really interesting botanicals or native grasses and different things like that, that could be really, really fun to incorporate. You could press them, or there's ways to dry plants in the microwave and squish them in books and stuff to lay them flat. And then you can have sort of the actual plant flattened and then a fun illustration next to it as an idea for creating. I'm trying to do negative space for the whiskers, and Sometimes these ideas come across and sometimes it's a little it's a little slapdash. So, but mushrooms, mycology, any animals that are in your area that are unique, endangered animals in your area can be really, really fun. Obviously, I really love animals, so I always discuss and talk about animals as an illustration idea. But literally listening to a song for the first time, I can link some music from around the world. And if you want to close your eyes and just listen to the song and put pen to paper while you sort of draw shapes and colors, and maybe that song sort of evokes imagery in your mind that you can recreate and put on the page if it's abstract or if it's realistic. Maybe it makes you think of something. Your favorite memory from childhood, from adulthood. Those can be really, really fun to draw out, to recreate fantasy worlds in your mind. Sometimes when I read a book, what I envision, and then if they turn it into a movie, what I've envisioned isn't what the movie looks like. And so sometimes drawing that out can be really, really interesting. I love seeing people's interpretation. I've seen lately a lot of different Scooby-Doo, more inclusive versions of Scooby-Doo. And a lot of them have been so beautiful and wonderful and unique. And I just love seeing everybody's idea of what their Scooby-Doo would look like if they got the chance to illustrate that. So something from your childhood, it could be your favorite toy. If there's a book that really shaped you or changed you, or it was just your favorite book, if you want to redesign the cover, there are a couple books that I have read that I didn't care for the cover, and I really would like to redesign the cover. I don't know that the artists feel the same that have done the covers, but there have been some that I've felt a new cover might be an amazing idea. If you look at a company like Beehive Books, has really, really interesting formats of books and book covers and illustrations inside. It's very, very beautiful. Just as an idea. Drawing or doodling what you own. Maybe you want to draw your art supplies. So if you're painting a little design, you then draw and paint the paintbrush and your paint pan. Anything that sits on your desk of note, and it's on your desk for a reason, that could be something that you draw from. To sort of help give you ideas, to get you out of your own head, sort of turn your mind off. If your mind's telling you, no, we have nothing to draw, then you want to turn off that thought process. You want to sort of reprogram that. I'm trying to make sure I can see here. You want to flip the script on your brain. So if your brain is acting like your worst enemy and it's just going, no, nothing sounds good, close your eyes to a jar of pens or pencils, grab a couple, see what colors you end up with, and think about what would look really unique in those colors. So if you close your eyes to a pencil jar, okay, and I have I have dark red. Again, I pulled two colors I hardly ever use. And I have a dark chrome yellow. And I think about things that are this sort of color. So I could really draw some fruit. I could draw some dishes that are really bright and then have, bananas, cherries, apples, things like that. Or I could draw things that you wouldn't find in these colors. So maybe my portrait is red and yellow. Or I do a landscape of, I don't know, the ocean is yellow and the sandy beach is red, or my mountains are red and the forest is yellow. And just really push these colors to mix and see all the different ranges in between as an idea to sort of experiment with what you already own without having to go out and be inspired by like a new art supply or something you've seen somebody else use. Sometimes I'll see somebody else's illustration or drawing. I'm like, wow, that is absolutely beautiful. What supply did they use to create that? Their skill. Their skill is what they used to create that. They just kept creating and kept going and kept practicing. The supply doesn't, in the grand scheme of things, it's not the supply, it's the practice. It's the keep going. It's the progress they make by constantly experimenting and trying and not giving up and just seeing what weird and wonderful thing they can do with what they already have. So here is my very, very pale cat. Cats. And I kind of want a little bit of a darker value to go with this, just to sort of, like, I love it really pale, but I feel like it would look a little bit richer if there was a darker value with it. So I'm gonna go back in and add a little bit of darker color just for interest and intrigue. Keep people on their toes. There are some days where I will sit down at my desk and go to draw, and I will peruse Pinterest or Google Images, or I'll rack my imagination, or I'll sit down with 3 of my books that are full of drawing notes and ideas, and still none of them sound like a good idea. And I just have to sort of keep visually looking at different things till I find something that is inspiring enough or interesting enough, or you know what, that's been on my mind and that needs to be drawn out. And I just have to keep sitting there. Sometimes, you know what, I'll tell you, some days I sit here for an hour and I'm like, wow, I could have been done by now if I knew what I wanted to draw. Some days I'll lay it out beforehand. If I know the other day, the next day coming, I don't have time to sit there and sit in my thoughts and stew and think about it. And so I'll try and do myself a favor because I know based on time constraints or what's going on. Taking care of yourself, your future self, with some of the ideas can be so helpful. And your future self will thank you for it. Even though at the time it may seem a little, oh, I don't know that I want to do that. There's so many things I'd rather do than go look for illustration ideas for something I'm not drawing today, but do it anyway. I promise it'll be such a great thing your future self will appreciate. And then just keep trying. If what you're drawing doesn't look like what you want it to look like, flip a page and keep going. Draw the same thing for 30 days. There's no rules or right or wrong. I don't really care what people say about rules and gatekeeping and all these different things. Like, these things don't interest me. Whatever gets you drawing and keeps you drawing is the best answer. That is the best. It doesn't matter. None of it does. So I wouldn't let anyone else's thoughts or opinions intrude. In fact, if they start to, whatever platform you're on, turn it off. It's not helping. You want to be where people are encouraging and promoting and inspiring and helping. And that can be really hard to sort of sit down and figure out, wow, this platform I'm on isn't helping me at all. That sucks. But sometimes that happens. I see that a lot more on Twitter. I think Twitter is a great place to have art conversations and figure out what's going on, like in art news, but it's not very promoting of art. So That can be very, very difficult, and sometimes people aren't kind. And that gets into psychology and mental health, and like understanding that when someone isn't kind to you or your art or your ideas or what you're doing, and it's starting to like zap your motivation and your other ideas, it's not about you. If somebody is writing to you online and they're not being nice, it is about them, and they're not having a good time, and they don't know where to put their pain. And it is headed in your direction because you're just there, unfortunately. So that can be a really tough thing to sort of acknowledge. Most of the time, I don't... I figured out how to block people. I had to Google it. I had to Google, how do you block people on Instagram? How do you block people on YouTube? I didn't know you could block people on YouTube for like years. But I learned how to, and I don't care. It's just art. It's a weird thing for people to sort of see what you're doing and then be rude about it. And you're like, it's just art. I'm sorry you're having a horrible day. I hope your day gets better. My art isn't about you. And with things like that, finding what to draw on days where either you're attacked or your art is attacked or something weird's going on, like there's something in the air, that can be, mood is such a huge factor to creating. And if you put your moods onto the page and learn to translate that onto the page, I guarantee you'll start seeing improvement in your illustration because you'll be drawing and illustrating and creating more. And that's the whole goal. You know, promoting a hobby, a passion, an idea, your safe space, your safe place, where you like to create, what you like to do. The whole idea is to be in a place that promotes that encourages that wants that for you. So find the places and the spaces that want you to create, that want to promote, that want to see you creating, that want to see you happy, that want to see you thriving. If people are zapping your ideas and your motivation, those aren't the people for you. Those aren't your people. And that can be real tough if you want to sit down and draw and you're getting sort of negativity coming at you. That's not very helpful and can zap all ideas. So changing your space and your place and where you're creating at might be necessary to furthering and creating and coming up with ideas. And you gotta feel safe, like mentally, physically, emotionally. It's really hard to create if you don't feel safe. And that's a real difficult topic. I can do a video later on like art therapy ideas, but that's kind of its own separate video. Just because there's so many different ways and things to do that, but I'm not a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a therapist. I am not a life coach. I am not any of those. I'm somebody that just draws and loves to draw every day, and I just want that for you. I want you to feel encouraged and inspired, and if you are having like a block or a rut or no ideas are coming to you, I kind of want to carve out a cheek here. If no ideas are coming to you, and I kind of want to help you realize that there are some things around you, in your head, on your desk, where you're at, that can be so helpful in promoting that. And that will, all that practice and stuff gets you to the next illustration level for being the artist you want to be and creating the art you want to have in your life. Whether it be just a fun little hobby or a career you want to keep going with. So, yeah. Cats. Cats are fun. And see, you can hear it in my voice. Cats literally make me smile. So I'm literally going to draw the thing that just brings me so much joy. And that's always such a good fallback idea. And there's so many ways to draw the same thing over and over and over and have it look totally different. If I had drawn this in orange, it would feel totally different. If I had done this in ink, it would feel different. It would feel stronger. It wouldn't feel quite so soft. If I had watercolored this, it would feel different. So doing the same thing over and over with different mediums can be a great idea for creating. If you are longing for a different season, or yeah, if you are longing for sunshine like I am, drawing sunshine can be a lot of fun. Drawing your dreams, draw your dream house, draw your dream car, draw your dream weather, draw your dream garden. All these things can be just a really great way to sort of find ideas and things that make you happy. My son likes to draw things from history, like historical things. And so when you pull and extrapolate items from history, that can be a really, really interesting way to go about it. Drawing things from science is really interesting. Geography. Pick a country you've always wanted to travel to and start doing a itinerary, an illustrated possible itinerary of traveling to Mozambique, for example, and then figure out, what your hotel would look like, your luggage packed, the weather, the animals, the food, the music, the culture, the clothing, the people, all the different things you would do on a trip. Maybe you see big, architectural things. You're into looking at, I don't know. I've never traveled with you. Maybe you like to shop. That's a thing people do. And check out what some of the street stalls would look like, the stores and shops, the grocery store, the food that's grown there, what's local. Those are all really interesting ideas for filling a sketchbook, and those ideas could create more ideas. Maybe you really like the idea of drawing clothing around the world and what different outfits look like for different ceremonies and receptions and parties and things. And that can be really, really interesting, really inclusive, and absolutely historically fascinating. And our dog says hi. Sunflower says hi. And sometimes maybe there's just too much out there. Maybe I'm giving you too many ideas and it's getting overwhelming. What projects are you working on? Do you have a different job, like a full-time job elsewhere? And maybe you can pull ideas from that, different desk supplies and furniture. Thinking about rooms and spaces. Office spaces could be really, really fun. Redrawing album covers for music, always a lot of fun. I'm pretty sure I don't know anybody that doesn't like music, so that's always a safe bet. If you're familiar with Kandinsky, some of his paintings, he said, were listening to certain music pieces, and that's why he created the way he did. I'm just redoodling over my doodle. This drawing is pretty much done. So this is my cat. It's losing part of its chin. Let's see if I can erase a portion back. I have just a little stick eraser here. This is a highly, highly staining colored pencil, so I don't know that I'm going to have any amount of success sort of creating a chin here. Maybe a little. Anyway, I hope some of these ideas help. It can be really, really difficult. Sometimes just going out on a walk, collecting some leaves, putting the leaves under your paper and doing leaf rubbings with crayons, like going back to some of the fun initial basic ideas that we did when we were kids, can be such a fun sort of embracing of our childhood kind of thing that can later inspire things, like writing down a little favorite quote, your favorite quotation, a line from a song, a line from a poem can sometimes have that. And then if you want to work on elements of design and symmetry and creating a whole border situation around one of those pieces, that could be something that you start leaning in to draw as well. There's so many different things you can draw. You can draw just your favorite word of the day. Like maybe your word of the day is love, and the letters break into hearts and come down. Just every single day getting in the groove, even if it's only 5 minutes a day of creating and finding things that might be interesting to create. And again, if the blank page is overwhelming and it's just too much, create a little square and just draw within that little square. And then maybe as you get more confident and it becomes less of a pressure, make your square bigger. You don't have to fill the whole page. And if you do, you could do something like this. There isn't a lot of detail on something like this. I'm trying to find one where I just polka dotted a dog. Sometimes you have to polka dot a dog. Here's another cat. It doesn't have to be hyper realistic. It could be general lines that get the feeling across. I'm trying to find one where like I just did not fill the page at all. Hold on. I'll just show you what I've been working on. So obviously today, cat. This is a portrait yesterday. This is 4 different pens. Let me zoom out a little bit. Okay, so this was from yesterday, and this is 4 different pens. A brush pen, a couple Pilot pens, and a Posca. If you don't like what you created, draw another element on top of it. So I did a portrait, and then I just did birds on a telephone pole. Again, if you're not feeling the whole face, draw different portions and aspects of the face. And the stars are just filler. I just wanted some purple in there. I stippled a dog. I have no excuses. Get weird with your portraits. I just get weird. Just draw things down the face. Have no fear of perfection. Cat, 2 colors. Rabbit, 2 colors. And this is a rabbit that I used for my fine liner drawing video. I used that again, that photo reference, and created this one. Here is a portrait with copper botanicals. I don't know. Just a face. Again, this is the same pencil I used for the cat. But you can see when you press down hard, it gets a totally different feeling and emotion. I couldn't tell you. It's just lines. It's micron lines. Brush pen. Hummingbirds roar in my imagination. And owls have proper grammar. So this owl says whom? It's sort of a face. It's just horizontal lines. And I was just experimenting. I've never done a portrait like this before. I wanted to see if it would work or look okay. It's all right. I don't know. Brush pen, very brushy. These are the names of my pieces. 2 portraits on top of each other. Layering things can add visual interest to your illustrations if you don't know what to draw. Or if you have 2 things you want to draw and you don't know. Here, let me zoom in on this one. All right, you can see, here's my nail. This is just tiny, 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 tiny dots. When I'm listening to something, I really like repetition. I find it very, very soothing sometimes. All right, I'm going to zoom back out. As you can see, a lot of my subject matter is portraits, but the way I approach them is so different that it keeps it fresh and exciting and inspirational to me. Yeah, there's some birds in there. There will always be some birds, but changing up the style or the way you're using a pen. This is the same pen that created this. These are the same exact pen, but changing up the way you approach it versus just lines and filling in shapes versus just hundreds of thousands of little dots can keep you inspired and interested. This is another one. There is a portrait in here. These lines have lines, and it's just keeping it visually interesting. Here's a portrait. Working on negative space, finding different elements in illustration that you don't think are your strongest are always a great idea to embrace. So negative space for shapes, for form, for creating an illustration. Here's another one that I did. It's just negative space. It's one pen. Gosh, and I always have it when I need it. The Pentel brush pen. And trying to figure out what's the least amount I can put on a page to still create a full looking lip. That's it. Do we still get the idea of an eye if there's no pupil? If it's not the full shape? Really experimenting. Hair. Hair is so much fun. Pilot pen. So not light fasting, but just a bright, sometimes just a bright color when you're feeling bright. And putting that into the page can give you an idea. And these are just varying widths of space of lines. Here's a pilot pen. I tried to kill a green pen. I don't know what to tell you. I really like doing portraits, and that was from a video. So drawing the same thing over and over when you can't let go of an idea, the idea continues to fascinate you, to inspire you, to motivate you, then keep doing it. And to heck what other people think. They're not you, and they don't get to be you, and you're awesome. So I just really lean into where I'm at and my moods. That's what that looks like. And as long as I'm embracing my mood and what's on my mind and what I am interested in, I always have an idea or a concept. I always have something that's still driving and still pushing me without overwhelming me. I hope this video helps. I hope this gave you some additional ideas of things to draw and create today. I hope you drew with me today. Did you draw a cat? Are you not a cat person? It's okay, you don't have to tell me. I love dogs as well. Okay, I'll show you some dog footage. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful week, and I will talk to you later. Bye.